Hello, everyone. I hope that you're doing well. I'm going to see if I can do a little commentary and reading before it gets too dark because it's 4 o'clock. And when you are, I guess, near the mountains in the winter, that's what happens. So I've been reading the Kabbalah and also some of the selections of the Zohar. So the two books I have here. This is The Essential Kabbalah, The Heart of Jewish Mysticism by Daniel C. Matt. And so I'll explain, what all this is if you're really new to it. And then I have Rav P.S. Berg, The Essential Zohar over here. So these are these are really good books that are introductory if you're just getting into the Kabbalah. And basically, it gives you kind of a taste because the actual body of work that's involved in this area is pretty immense. So let's just get started. I'm kind of starting out in this journey as well. So if you have been on it a while and you have anything to add or, correct, give feedback, then please do in the comments. Okay, so basically, when people refer to the Kabbalah, it's writings on the central text called the Zohar. So it all, in a way, starts with the Zohar. So I'm going to move to that in a second. So the Kabbalah are writings on the Zohar, and they, extend, whatever seems to be about Jewish mysticism and the esoteric understanding of the Torah might count and might be included in the canon. So you have writings from Kabbalists, I think, in the Middle Ages. You even have them in the 20th century. And so this book is really great because you can get it and you can see who your favorite Kabbalists are. I'm probably not putting the accent. No, I'm pretty unfamiliar with Hebrew, I have to say. Although I'm starting to watch this series of courses, so maybe I will get better. So you can see which ones you like. So my readings are going to come from here, basically, and it's a lot about mysticism and creation and sort of esoteric understandings of spiritual religious texts. So the Zohar is a many volumes. So you see this is a pretty slim book. This has very small selections from the Zohar, and then most of it is kind of like is commentary, kind of like I don't mean this in a disparaging way, like a Sunday school kind of sermon-ish. Like that's like the feel I get of it, but it's really inspiring and it's a lot of wisdom and it's beautiful and wonderful, and I'm gonna get many more books from this author. So basically, the Zohar is commentary on the Torah, which is, the first 5 books of the Bible, if you're thinking of it that way, or the writings by Moses, Genesis, etc. So we can say that some people say that the Zohar came through revelation to this rabbi who was hiding out in a cave during the 2nd century Roman occupation of what is now Israel. And the prophet Elijah came to this rabbi. He was hiding out with his son and visited him numerous times to give him this revelation, this esoteric understanding of the Torah, and to write it all down. But it was supposedly hidden until Moses de Leon in the Middle Ages was said to have found it in the very same cave that the rabbi from the 2nd century hid it in, and that wasn't grammatically correct, but He found it in the same cave. Although I think scholars now say that no, it was really Moses de Leon who kind of wrote this, and his wife sort of attested to it. And so, it's part history, part legend slash myth, etc. But the Kabbalah and in Jewish mysticism concerning the esoteric understanding of this wisdom, of Jewish wisdom, is said to go far, sort of earlier. It started earlier than this, revelation of the prophet Ezekiel. Did I say Elijah? The prophet Ezekiel. In the second century. So there's a text called, it's a very short text, I think it's like 22 pages, called the Sefer Yetzirah, and it was wisdom that was given to, some people say Abraham, or during that time, and it's all about the Jewish alphabet and letters and combinations, and this I don't know much about, and I will have to learn, but it's an important part of meditation and the personal experience and activity of revelation and encountering the divine. So I'm going to share the screen. Our light is dying already. So you can see I'm just on Amazon. So there's sort of a recent-ish kind of a compilation of the Zohar. So it's in 12 books. 12 volumes by Daniel C. Matt. So the same author that I have here. And and so it goes, I think like the first volume is probably some of Genesis, and I'm planning on getting it. It's quite an investment, but for what you're getting, it's also kind of a steal. So so we'll see for myself, and if I get it, I will share it with all of you. All right, so I'm going to read just as many as I can, probably just 2 or 3. This book is divided in thematically, so it has the tree of life, as you can see right here, which is sort of a visual representation of the various paths that you can take, and the flow of this tree of life and these paths kind of constantly move, and they're dynamic, and there's a flow to it. I'm sure there are lots of good videos on YouTube on it, and if I continue learning about this, then I'll definitely do a video as well. So the first section that I'm going to read, selection I'm going to read, is by someone from the 16th, 17th century. This Kabbalist is named Menahem Azariah, and this is what it says. The supernal, and supernal just means like celestial, of the sky. The supernal vacuum is like a field in which are sown 10 points of light. And so the number 10 is very important. It relates to the tree of life. Just as each grain of seed grows according to its fertile power, so does each of these points. And just as a seed cannot grow to perfection as long as it maintains its original form, growth coming only through decomposition, so these points could not become perfect configurations as long as they maintained their original form, but only by shattering. So in sort of the creation story of the Kabbalah and Jewish mysticism, it kind of reminds me of Gnosticism a bit, because it says that, when God thought light in creation into existence, he had to withdraw the light because it was too intense, and And so God's sort of emanation of this light caused shattering, but which presented itself as the foundation for the multiplicity and the variety of forms that we have today. And each form has a particular has light within it, and it's sort of the purpose of each individual. And there are Kabbalistic writings on this, and this is why it also reminds me of Gnosticism, which I plan to do a video on because I'm also reading the Gnostic Bible. So it's sort of, and it also reminds me of Plato a bit, and we have to seek that divine spark within us, that light, and sort of remember it in a sense. So, and I just think that there's so much to say about each of these readings, but just this growth coming only through decomposition. I was watching a video, I can't remember what it was, but it gave the analogy. It was talking about, kind of suffering and being in this life, and coming to enlightenment or being on a journey of spiritual awakening. And it was talking about how it might have been on Gaia.com, but how our muscles, when we're working out, have to first sort of break down so that they can grow back stronger. And I know that a lot of people come to spiritual awakening after sort of a dark night of the soul. And this is kind of what I have experienced as well. And of course, it's all relative, and different people have different intensities of this, both the dark night and their spiritual awakening. But I think it's really interesting, and it might have been this YouTube channel called Spirit Science that just came up in my recommendations, and I'll have to try to put these links in the description. But I think it was on that channel. Maybe that channel talked about the muscles breaking down. No, I think, well, I don't know. So, sorry, I wish I could credit, but I watch so many different videos and read so many different books. Sometimes it gets all mixed up. Someone had the metaphor about our heart, and how when our heart gets broken, it keeps going, but it also grows back stronger or comes back with strength, and it always wants more and more experience. And a lot of people will say that, those who sort of believe in reincarnation and kind of the journey of the evolved consciousness, both individual and collective, that Earth is sort of a chosen place for a very sensory experience. So that includes pain and pleasure, and that it is a place where we are learning and evolving in a very particular way, that it's important that we sort of forget, so that we can remember. But the forgetting doesn't mean that we don't have access to it. The memories, the lessons, the wisdom, that we increasingly sort of evolve. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And this one is about sort of that remembering and that manifesting your divine spark through meditation and through knowledge and learning and contemplation. So this one is from my handwriting, is Israel Serag, maybe, the 16th, 17th century Kabbalist. So it says, traces of the light adhered to the shards of the shattered vessels. This may be compared to a vessel full of oil. If it breaks and the oil spills out, a bit of the liquid adheres to the shards in the form of drops. Likewise, in our case, a few sparks of light adhered. When the shards descended to the bottom, so each individual is like a piece of what was once whole, but was shattered by the light, the intense divinity of God. or the original source, or whatever, you prefer. When the shards descended to the bottom of the world of actualization, reminds me of Gnosticism, they were transformed into 4 elements: fire, air, water, and earth, from which evolved the stages of mineral, vegetable, animal, and human. When these materialized, some of the sparks remained hidden within the varieties of of existence. You should aim to raise those sparks hidden throughout the world, elevating them to holiness by the power of your soul. So to me, you should aim to raise those sparks hidden throughout the world. There isn't anything, the Kabbalah says, that doesn't have a trace of this light, or it wouldn't exist, because light is what upholds sort of life and creation. So you can think about light as being, a part of wavelengths and energy and vibration, etc. And it just says to me the importance of, balancing our necessary navigation of the material world and all of the things that we have to do, such as, feed ourselves, feed our children or our families, go to work, clean our houses, all of these things that we need to do, to balance that with being alone, contemplating, meditating, and sort of raising our vibration and attending to also our spiritual selves, our souls. So I just think it's a really interesting reminder of our goal. Let's see, I might skip some of these. Let me just go to my last one. Well, let's see. Okay, maybe I'll do 2 more. I did mark this, I promise, but my oracle card fell out. Okay, here it is. All right, so this is from a 20th century Kabbalist. It says Abraham Isaac Kook. The fierce power of imagination is a gift from God. Joined with the grandeur of the mind, the potency of inference, ethical depth, and the natural sense of the divine, imagination becomes an instrument for the Holy Spirit. And I think this is really interesting and really lovely, because I don't think that we talk often about or celebrate imagination. We think about children having imaginary friends, or being very imaginative on the playground, at school, with their friends, acting out and being very theatrical. And of course, we have artists today who tap into their creativity, but kind of allowing imagination to be within the conversation of spirituality and spiritual awakening and encountering the divine, I think is maybe there is a need to do this more. I think about the place of visualization and just sort of the need to withhold judgment when people come up with imaginative words or terms, or they see different things and they imagine different things, or different visions come to them when they're meditating or when they're contemplating or they're doing their spiritual work. This sort of endorses that practice, and it's all in the aim and the purpose of, again, raising our vibration so that we live in love instead of fear, but that we master both fear and love through these visualizations, because we can't always think ourselves into healing, into mental healing, because our bodies respond and generate feelings. And so if we can respond and communicate to our bodies through feelings and to sort of the collective conscious and other spirits, other energies, the energies that are around us through our feeling, because we're not communicating, we can't always communicate through our words and our language, even though that sound carries, our words carry vibration and intention as well. I think it's just a balance of utilizing everything that is available to us, and also returning to balance what we don't usually attend to, because we, talk to ourselves, we have an internal monologue, but various spiritual traditions such as Buddhism talk about quieting the mind. And so why would we quiet the mind? Why would we focus on breath work? How does that create a path to healing that, maybe toxic positivity can't do? And I just use that as an example. I guess it doesn't have to be toxic, but a lot of times when I think about my own experiences trying to talk myself out of a certain feeling, it ends up being more like I'm repressing my emotions. And even though there is that idea that you fake it till you make it, it tends to be more exhausting and not as effective as, the paths of like somatic therapy. And thinking about your intentions and your energies when you are trying to manifest sort of a higher self or an upgraded self or a self that lives in love. Okay, so this last one I wanted to talk about, if you follow me on Instagram, this is the page that I posted. It's Isaac of Aco, maybe, 13th, 14th century, and it's a little bit longer. So we will end with this, and if you hear that noise, it's my heater. The divine mind pours upon us constantly, emanating its sacred abundance to us. For more than the calf wants to suck, the cow wants to suckle. So there's this idea that the divine needs or wants us to seek it out. Let us do good deeds and engage in aloneness, sitting in a loft with books, myrtle, pen, ink, paper, and tablet to combine the letters and draw the divine mind into us. So again, I'm unfamiliar with this practice. I've come across it in various videos recently, but I by no means know how to do this or can say much about it. But I wanted to highlight this to just show that it does seem to be an important element in Jewish mysticism. When you fulfill the conditions of aloneness in your room, which is all the more reason, I guess, to learn Hebrew. When you fulfill the conditions of aloneness in your room, you will attain the flowing abundance of the 6 Sephirot emanating to the diadem, whose splendor dwells within your soul, and the abundance of the 3 upper Sephirot, drawing them to the diadem and into your soul. So this is kind of relating to the paths of consciousness and the divine and meditation and the tree of life. These abundant flows hidden from the senses, and you can also think of like the flow of like your chakras, the energy centers within and without and above and below you, your energy field and the flow of that, the movement of that will appear to the eye of your mind as cascading water. They are nothing but sparks of light, white, pure, and dazzling, emanating to the diadem, from there to Moses, and from there to the mind within your soul. Enjoy this abundant rain. Offer thanks to God with neither speech nor thought. As it says in the Sefer Yetzirah, if your mind races, return to the place. Return to where you were before the thought. Return to the site of oneness. So I think this is really interesting for myself. I think that I didn't understand meditation until I started incorporating and understanding intention and energies. And also I don't think I understood through my readings of my contemplative studies and even how I was approaching Buddhism just kind of on my own, um, the role of the mind and the role of thoughts. It's not necessarily, from my perspective, that the mind is something to be tamed or something that is negative, and that thinking or thoughts are negative sort of entities as well. I'm reading Rudolf Steiner, and he is saying, and also Heidegger, what is called thinking. And so they are both talking about how thinking is elevated, which I think is also true. It's just, I think the path that we have to take, and again, there's a flow and there's a return. So I think there has to be in different parts of our journeys and at different times, like pausing from the thoughts. And so when, I am meditating and it's most effective, I am focusing not on sort of the racing perpetual monologue that's in my mind, but I'm trying to focus on breath. I'm trying to tune into the frequencies of different parts of my body. And I'm trying to allow myself emotions that aren't my habitual anxiety or depression or frustration or a disappointment or disillusionment. I'm trying to access and dwell and feel gratitude and love, because those frequencies seem to have a power and our bodies seem to need those frequencies. And one way to do that is to quiet the mind and communicate to our bodies without speech and without thought. Not that we don't return to speech and thought, and that those aren't powerful essences and practices in and of themselves. So my light is gone. Thank you so much for listening to my beginning journey of the Kabbalah and the Zohar. And yeah, I mean, I'm not finished with these books. I just wanted to share, and maybe sometime I'll share this as well, as although these are mostly, again, like lessons and commentaries, and I feel like it's just better to get this book and just to read it, because the commentary is all there. Rav P.S. Berg doesn't necessarily need me to add my thoughts, although maybe I'll try just to share it so you can see what it's like if you haven't read it. But I hope that you have a lovely day, a lovely morning, a lovely evening whenever you're watching this, and I will see you next time, maybe talking about Heidegger or Gnosticism. I'm not quite sure.